Hello everyone, welcome to PLUTUS IAS. Guys, today we are going to do the analysis of Union Budget 2024-2025 presented by the Finance Minister yesterday. Guys, the budget that was presented by the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman before this one was actually the interim budget, and we made the entire video on that budget as well. And at that point of time, I told you that the full budget, the full-fledged budget will be presented once the government is formed, because that was the phase of election. The interim budget was presented before election. So now government has presented full budget. So we are going to look at this budget. We are going to analyze this budget. We are going to see that what all new policies have been introduced and what all has been removed. Is there any relief given to the taxpayers, or the burden of tax has been further increased? So let's get started. So guys, that's the pick, yesterday's pick of Finance Minister going to present the budget. This is the budget that you can see in her hand. Okay, now if we talk about the constitution, so I have told it several times, I'll repeat myself here once again, that see, in constitution there is no such thing mentioned as annual budget. Okay, in constitution budget is not there. Rather, constitution talks about the financial document. Okay, and according to the norms of constitution, the government cannot withdraw the fund. The government cannot withdraw the consolidated fund without the approval of the parliament. That is why an annual budget is presented in the parliament, and the approval of that budget is obtained from the parliament, so that government can withdraw the funds and government can spend and do whatever it wants with the money for the development of the country. Okay, so that's why annual budget is presented. Got my point? So see, that's what I've written, that according to the article 266 of the constitution, parliamentary approval is required to draw money from the consolidated fund of India. That means government cannot withdraw the fund without the approval of parliament, and that is the reason government presents the annual budget. Okay, and guys, one more thing we have to keep in mind, that budget is always for the upcoming year. That means that the budget that I am discussing with you, it is for the financial year 2025. From 2024 to 2025, from 1st of April 2024 to 31st of March 2025. Okay, so it is always for the upcoming year. This time the budget got delayed, as I told you earlier. Why? Because there were elections, union elections in the country. So the budget is being presented in the month of July. Else the budget is always presented on 1st of Feb. Fine. So it is always for the upcoming year. That means government gives the tentative idea. Actually, government gives the estimate that what all spending it will do. That is called expenditure. And what all income it is expecting in the upcoming year. That is called receipts. Okay. So it is all estimated. It is not actual. It is estimated. The actual figures may vary. There is not a very big difference between the expected and actual figures, but yes, some variation. As we know, expectation and reality differs, so that's why some variation do comes. Okay, so I'm going to read it. The term budget is not mentioned in the constitution. As I told you, the constitution refers to it as annual financial statement. Got my point? Okay, and if we talk about article 112 to article 117 of the constitution, this deals with the financial matters. Fine. And besides, the article 114.3 of the constitution stipulates that no amount can be withdrawn from the consolidated fund without the enactment of a law, that is appropriation of the bill. That means without getting the consent of the parliament, government cannot withdraw the consolidated funds, and that's the reason why the budget is being presented. Clear? Okay. Now the question is that what is the relevance of budget for a normal citizen? See, as a student of economics, you are preparing for UPSC. Budget is a very important financial document for you. Even if you haven't opted for economics optional, then too, for your prelims and GS, budget is very important. Questions are asked from there. But if we talk from the perspective of a normal citizen, then what's the relevance of budget for a normal citizen? How is it important to a normal citizen? So, see, the budget helps to understand what the government plans to do with essentially the citizens' money. As we know, guys, the money that we get, or you can say, when I'm saying we, I mean government. I'm referring to government, okay? Talking from the perspective of government. So the money that government gets, from where government gets the money? Government majorly gets the money from the citizens only. Yes or no? In the form of taxes, whether direct tax, indirect tax, or non-tax receipts, challans, fees, fines, all these things. But this money is being paid by citizen. So this money that government is earning, or which is the receipt of government, it is actually the money that belongs to the citizen. It is paid by the citizen. So budget tells you that what government plans or intends to do with the money that it has collected from the citizens. Clear? Given to the government in the form of multiple direct and indirect taxes, information about who the government plans to tax and its spending priorities matters. Budget tells you the plan of the government, that whether government has changed the tax regime, or is there any new tax or some rebate is given in the taxes, okay? Or government is planning for some new subsidy, it is planning to uplift some sector. All these relevant informations which are very important for a citizen, all these information are being provided in the budget. So that's the relevance of the budget for the normal citizen. Now guys, as I told you that few months back, before going to the election, the finance minister presented a budget, a short budget. The name of it was interim budget in the parliament. And at that point of time also, I told you that once the government is formed, then the full-fledged budget will be presented by the finance minister. So, what is the difference between the interim budget and full budget? So, I'm just going to read it and then I'm going to explain. See, if we talk about interim budget, it outlines the government's anticipated receipts and expenditures until the new government is formed. So see guys, actually this interim budget is sort of temporary in nature, and it is for short span of time. It is not for the entire duration of 1 year. Government just presents a short budget for 2, 3, 4 months, okay? For 3-4 months, it gives a short budget that is known as interim budget, and then government goes into the election, union election, which was conducted in our country this year. And after election, once a new government is formed, then that government presents a full budget for the remaining span of the year. Okay, so interim budget is a short budget, temporary budget for short span of time, presented when union government is going into election. Clear? Whereas if we talk about full budget, so full budget encompasses all facets of government finances, including earnings, spending, allocations, policy declarations. Now, full budget, as the name is suggesting, it is a full-fledged budget. It will give you a detailed account of government receipts, government expenditure, the allocations. That means where government is going to spend its money, to which sector government is going to allot more money. All the information that are required are being provided in your full budget. Next is interim budget provides financial details for the transitional period. Why the word transitional is used here? See guys, transitional is used, as I told you, that when interim budget is presented, after that government goes into election, and we never know that whether the same government will return into power or not. This time Modi government returned back. Okay, it's the third tenure of Modi government, but we don't know that what will happen after election. So this is a transition phase when one government has presented a budget and then it will go into election, and let's say if new government comes in place of the old government, So the transition has taken place from old to new. That's why it is a transitional budget. Whereas if you talk about full budget, it is a full year budget. And it's a strategic guidance charting the nation's economic trajectory for an entire fiscal year. Fiscal year, 1st April to 31st March of another year. So this is an entire fiscal year or accounting year or business year. So it is for one entire year. Next is, if we talk about interim budget, the incumbent government will present an interim budget for 24-25 in the parliament effective from 1st April. As it was done, the budget was presented by the interim government which was going into election, okay, government for short span of time, and then again the full-fledged government, or you can say the new government which was formed after election, it presents the full budget. I hope this difference is clear between interim and full budget. So let's continue. Now, who is responsible for preparing the budget? So see guys, there is a budget division and it comes under the Department of Economic Affairs. Budget division of Department of Economic Affairs, which is under the Finance Ministry. So budget division prepares the budget, okay, and it is this budget division is the part of Department of Economic Affairs, and Department of Economic Affairs of course comes under Ministry of Finance. Clear? Okay. Now let's get started. So I am going to start by the words of Finance Minister when she presented the budget in the Parliament. So what were her opening sentences? So I am going to read it out to you. So it will give you a brief idea about the direction in which entire discussion of budget will proceed. So what she said was, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said, the people of India have reposed their faith in the government led by PM Modi and re-elected it for the historic third term. As mentioned in the interim budget, we need to focus on 4 different castes. So see here, she is defining 4 different castes, and this she also said in her interim budget. What are those 4 castes defined by Finance Minister? First is the poor, second is the women, third is the youth of the country, and fourth is the farmer. So these are the 4 castes defined by the Finance Minister. Then she said, we announced higher minimum support price, that is MSP. Okay, MSP for all major crops, delivering on the promise for at least a 50% margin over cost. So she's saying that she had already announced and she had promised that she'll provide an MSP to all the major crops, and this MSP, pay attention, when the word all is used, you have to take it like that not each and every crop, most of the crop that are mostly used as a staple. So she's going to provide, or Finance Minister will provide more than 50% of MSP on these crops. Okay. Then she says PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana was extended for 5 years, benefiting more than 80 crore people. So what is PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana? PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana was that government is going to provide ration, it is going to provide food grains to the 80 crore of the people for free. And then Narendra Modi, we remember before election, the Prime Minister extended this scheme till 2029. Okay. So that's what she's mentioning. Just a minute. Yeah. Now, then there is a package given by PM, and it is called PM package of 5 schemes to be announced to facilitate employment and skilling at rupees 2 lakh crore. So this is something very interesting, and this is actually the direction in which the government policies were designed in this budget, and this is the direction in which government is going to proceed, it is going to head in this year. So what it says is, it says that there is a PM package of 5 schemes, fine, and these 5 schemes will be announced, and what will be the aim of the scheme? The aim of the scheme is employment and skilling, to uplift the employment, to provide employment to large number of people and skill them also. Okay, and for this the ministry or the government is going to spend rupees 2 lakh crore. This much spending government will do for PM package of 5 schemes. Fine. Then it says union budget. The finance minister announced a PM package of 5 schemes, as I told you, aimed at facilitating employment and skilling, and 2 lakh crore will be allotted. This year, this particular year, this fiscal year from 2024 to 25, there is a provision of 1.48 lakh crore for education, employment and skilling. So government has provisioned that it will spend 1.48 lakh crore on this fiscal year only, and it will spend it on the sectors of education, employment and skilling. Clear? Okay. Now please see employment and skilling. So Prime Minister's package, first we are going to talk about the 3 schemes that are given from the package of 5. What are these 3 schemes? And these 3 schemes are aiming at employment and skilling. 3 schemes announced under employment linked incentive. So these 3 schemes, they come under employment linked incentive. Their function is, their aim is to promote employment and skills. Okay, so scheme A, the name of scheme A is first timers. What is the meaning of this? First timer means that the individual who are going to apply or who are going to get employed first time in their life. That means people who are going to do their first job. It is for them. This scheme A. Direct benefit transfer of 1 month salary in 3 installments up to rupees 15,000 to first time employees registered in EPFO. Okay. What is the meaning of it? The meaning is that if you talk about the first time people means first time individuals who are going to get employed, government is going to transfer up to rupees 15,000 for 3 months in their PF. Okay. Scheme B. So this is for first timers, as the name suggests. Scheme B, job creation in manufacturing. The aim of this scheme is to create the job in the manufacturing sector so that more people can be inclined towards manufacturing sector and there can be a boost in manufacturing sector. Okay? There can be a boost in manufacturing sector. So what it says? It says that incentive to be provided to both employee and employer as per their EPFO contribution in the first 4 years of employment. So in manufacturing sector, if the employer is going to hire an employee, then government is going to do what? Government is going to provide incentive both to the employee and to the employer in their PF account. Okay, the PF account, which is the account of the provident fund account of the employee. Okay, so government is going to incentivize both the employee and employer. See what happens in PF account, guys, that let's say there is some employee and he deposits 5,000 rupees in his PF account. Now when I say he deposit, so he manually doesn't go to deposit the 5,000 rupee. The 5,000 rupee is deposited by the company where he is employed on his behalf. Okay, let's assume that there is an employee X and company deducts 5,000 rupees from his per month salary and company deposits that money in his PF account. Okay, then the rule is that whatever is the money or sum that is deducted from the employee's salary and deposited in his PF account, the equivalent sum will also be deposited by the company. So if company is deducting 5,000 from employee X and depositing it in PF account, then employer will also deposit 5,000 rupees from his pocket. Okay, so government is saying what? Government is saying that it is going to incentivize in manufacturing sector, not in service sector. Government is going to incentivize, it will give incentives both to the employer and to the employee. okay, in their PF account, and that too for the first 4 years of the employment. Once the employee gets employed, his first employment, for first 4 years government is going to incentivize. Clear? Next is support to employers, scheme C. It says reimbursement to employers up to rupees 3,000 per month for 2 years towards their EPFO contribution for each additional employee. That means if an employer hires an employee, and let's say the employer is depositing 5,000 rupees in the employee's account for his PF. So what government is saying? Government is saying that employer will deposit 5,000 rupee, not an issue. But what we are going to do is, we are going to reimburse you. We are going to give back the 3,000 rupees to the employer. Okay? So reimbursement out of this 5,000, 3K will be reimbursed to the employer. So these are first 3 schemes, okay, from the package of 5. Let's proceed. Now, if we talk about, we'll discuss the remaining 2 later, but if we talk about the theme of the budget, so basically our budget is based on employment, number 1, number 2 is skilling, number 3 is MSME, and number 4 is middle class. These are the 4 major aspects of our budget of 2024-25. So let's see. Now, if we talk about the priorities of the budget, so pay attention, there are 9 priorities in this budget. Number 1 is productivity and resilience in agriculture. That means for agriculture sector, to promote agriculture sector, this step will be taken. Second is employment and skilling. That is one of the major agenda of the government, to provide employment and skilling. Third is inclusive human resource development and social justice. Okay. Fourth is manufacturing and services. Government will also focus on manufacturing and services. Fifth is urban development. We are going to discuss all these things in detail. I am just narrating that what all are there. Next is energy security. Then infrastructure, very important aspect. Then innovation, research and development, R&D. And then next generation reforms. So guys, the policies presented by the government in this budget, all the policies come under these 9 heads that I have just told you about. So all the policies are under these 9 heads. Okay. Now let's discuss all these policies presented under 9 head. And let me tell you guys, every time whenever the budget is presented, budget, I told you this thing in interim budget also, budget is always presented in 2 parts. Part A is about the policies launched by the government for the upcoming year and for future years as well. So part A basically deals with the policies launched by the government, and part 2 or part B, it deals with the different aspects of the economy, that is receipts, expenditures, taxes, all these things are covered in the part B. So same is the scenario with this budget as well. In part A, we are going to discuss all the policies and reforms that are being undertaken by the government for the upcoming year, and then we will shift on to part B, where we will talk about the expenditure, receipts, taxes for 2024-25, GDP growth, all these things. So let's get started with this part A. Now this is one of the very important thing, and from the point of view of prospectus of your UPSC, this is very important thing that you should keep in mind. Big bonanza for Bihar. So government has given a package to Bihar. See, yesterday it was in news that government has denied, yesterday, and even when I say yesterday, I mean before budget was presented, and basically it was in circulation, the news was circulating day before yesterday, that central government has denied to give special status to Bihar. This is the long serving demand of the Nitish Kumar to his aim was to get actually the special status for Bihar, and that was denied by the central government. And what was the reason? So what we can speculate is that, see, government denied this special status for Bihar, the reason being that if government will grant a special status to Bihar, then other states may also approach to government for getting the special status. So that's why government directly said that no, we are not going to give a special status to Bihar. But here what we will observe that some backdoor entry plan was devised, and the benefits that were given under special status, so most of those benefits are being provided but through a backdoor entry. Okay, so let's see. The union government has allocated rupees 26,000 crores for various roads projects in Bihar as announced by the finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Okay, so government has allocated 26,000 crore rupees to Bihar, and under what? For the development of various road projects. Various road projects will be there. Okay, development of road projects will occur there. Okay, the center, and this is the first aspect. Apart from this, the center will secure financial assistance for the state through multilateral development agencies. So apart from this, this 26,000 crores will be provided, but apart from this, center is also going to help the state. When I say state, I mean Bihar. Okay, so center is also going to help Bihar in securing financial assistance from several agencies throughout the world, from World Bank. Okay, for example, so several financial agencies, center will help the Bihar to get the financial assistance from several financial agencies. Clear? Then that's the second part of it. Then it says, in addition to road projects, the government has plans to establish airports, medical colleges, and sports infrastructure in Bihar. This is the third aspect, that government, these two are for roads and other things. Apart from this, government is also going to establish airports, medical colleges, and sports infrastructure in Bihar. The center will also develop, this is part 4 of it, a comprehensive plan called Purvodaya to foster all-round development in Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh. So Andhra Pradesh, Chandrababu Naidu, he is LI, he is in NDA. Bihar, Nitish Kumar in NDA. And let me remind you that recently the state elections were held and BJP has won Odisha as well. Okay, West Bengal and Jharkhand. So government plans to develop all these states of East. Overall, holistic development government will do of these states under Purvodaya. Now this name is important, okay, from the perspective of UPSC. Purvodaya, this is the project under which government, or this is a policy under which government will focus on these eastern states on their development. Moving on, then for Andhra Pradesh also, infra boost announcement. See guys, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh got separated. Hyderabad, it became the capital of Telangana. So it's a long asked thing from the central government that Andhra Pradesh government was asking from very long, that we need to develop our own capital city for our state. So in order to that, we need to spend a lot of money. So we need the help of the central government. So that help, which was being asked from very long period of time, it has been provided in this budget. And we know the reason, because now Chandrababu Naidu is the CM of Andhra Pradesh and he is the ally, okay, of central government. He is in NDA, part of NDA. So government will facilitate a special financial support for development of capital city in Andhra Pradesh. As I told you, for the development of capital city, government is going to provide a special assistance. Government will also arrange rupees 50, so that's part 1, to develop the capital city. Then is government will also arrange rupees 15,000 crore, and that too this fiscal and in the future years for the development of capital city of Andhra Pradesh. So first thing is that government will help the state of Andhra Pradesh to develop its capital city. Apart from this, government will also aid it with 15,000 CR in this fiscal year plus in the future years, okay, to develop the city. Andhra Pradesh, now I am quoting Nirmala Sitharaman, she said, Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act, our government has made efforts to fulfill the commitments in Andhra Pradesh reorganization. Recognizing the state's need for the capital, we will facilitate special financial support through multilateral agencies. In the current financial year, rupees 15,000 crore will be arranged with additional amounts in future years. So 15,000 crores in this year and then additional amount in the future year for development of the capital. Okay. Now let's talk about those nine major pillars on which our budget is based. So part 1 was agriculture. So agriculture, and the name is productivity and resilience in agriculture. So see guys, first is transforming agriculture research. So what government is saying, that comprehensive review of the agricultural research setup in order to bring into focus rising productivity and developing climate resilient varieties. So government is going to spend and it will develop a research mechanism in agriculture so that such crops can be analyzed which are climate resilient. That means which are not that much affected by the climate, which can survive the changes in the climate. So that's one. Number 2, national cooperation policy for systematic, orderly and all-round development of the cooperative sector on the grounds of Amul. So see guys, we know a very successful cooperative sector is Amul in the field of dairy in India. Okay, so on the grounds of Amul, as Amul was developed, on the same ground government is planning to develop national cooperation policy so that other sectors of agriculture can be developed and can be commercialized. Okay, next is Atmanirbharta. Now see, India is a very big importer of oil seed. So that's what the plan of government is, that for oil seeds such as mustard, groundnut, sesame, soya bean and sunflower, government wants to be self-reliant. It wants to reduce the import of oil seeds. So that's why government is going to focus on development of oil seeds, increasing their production for mustard, groundnut, sesame, soya bean and sunflower. Okay. Fourth, vegetable production and supply chain. Promotion of FPO, cooperative and startups for vegetable supply chains for collection, storage and marketing. In order to develop the growth of vegetables and so that vegetable can reach to the doors and markets, what government is planning to do is, government is going to strengthen the supply chain of the vegetable market. Okay. Then release of new varieties. So 109 new high yielding climate resilient varieties of 32 field and horticulture crops will be released for cultivation by farmers. So government is planning to release 109 high yielding climate resilient varieties, and that too from the 32 field of the agriculture and horticulture. Okay, so 109 high yielding varieties, and these varieties will be climate resilient as well. Okay, moving on. Apart from this, government is going to focus on natural farming, and for natural farming 1 crore farmers across the country will be initiated into natural farming, supported by certification and branding in next 2 years. What it means is that 1 crore farmers throughout the country will be selected, they will be trained, their skill will be developed in natural farming, and then they will be given certifications also. Okay. 10,000 need-based bio-input resources centers to be established. So 10,000 centers will also be established to achieve this purpose. Next is shrimp production and export. It is basically for fishermen and women, for fisheries. Okay. So for fisheries, government is planning that financing for shrimp farming, processing and export will be facilitated through NABARD. Okay. NABARD is actually a bank which gives, understand it in layman language, it is a bank that provides assistance, gives assistance to the rural areas. It is basically designed for the development of rural area, okay, and for agriculture. So financing will be done, loans will be given to whom? To the people associated in fisheries, okay, so that the production of shrimp can be increased and the processing industry of shrimp and export, all these things can be facilitated. Next is digital public infrastructure, that is DPI. So DPI for coverage of farmers and their lands in 3 years. Digital crop survey in 400 district. Government is going to do the survey of 400 district and survey for crops. Issuance of Jan Samarth based Kisan credit cards. So Kisan credit cards based on the scheme called Jan Samarth will also be provided. Moving on. So the next aspect, second, is employment and skilling. As I told you, employment and skilling, I have already told you 3 schemes related to it. Now we are going to elaborate it. So see what happens here. Under scheme A, which is for first timers, 1 month wage to new entrants in all formal sectors in 3 installment of rupees 15,000. So all new entrants, anyone who is getting the first time job, so their 1 month salary up to rupees 15,000 will be given by government. Company will give it, but government is also going to give, and government is going to provide this 1 month salary in 3 installments, okay. Expected to benefit, and this is going to benefit, guys, 2.1 CR of the youth. So 2.1 crore youth will be benefited by it, okay. Scheme B, this is job creation in manufacturing. So linked to first time employees, incentive to both employee and employers for PF for the specific scale for first 4 years. As I have told you, for first 4 years, the incentive in the PF will be given to the employee as well as employer. And this is going to benefit, expected is 30 lakh youths. And this is under manufacturing sector. Third, it is the scheme to support the employers. So government will reimburse the PF contribution of the employers up to rupees 3,000. As I told you, government is going to give back or reimburse up to rupees 3,000 for one employee to the employer for 2 years, okay. And this is going to generate the additional jobs of 50 lakh. Clear, guys? Moving on. Apart from this, government is going to launch a skilling program, and this is the 4th scheme for the from the package of 5. This is the 4th scheme. 20 lakh youth will be skilled over a 5-year period. So government is going to develop the skills in the youth under 5-year period. Government is planning to train 20 lakh youth. 1,000 industrial training institutes will be upgraded in the hub. So 1,000 institutes and these institutes will be based on industrial training. They will also be upgraded. Course content and design aligned as per skill needs of new industry. So the course content will be based on the requirement demand of the new industry, okay, the course content of these training centers. Next is facilitated higher participation of women in the workforce through settling up working women hostels in collaboration with industry and establishing it. So see, guys, government wants women to have more contribution in the workforce. So one of the main problem that women face is that when they migrate from their hometown to some other city because of a job, so what happens there is they face a very large problem or a big problem of lodging, where to stay, okay, to find a or to rent a flat or room. So sometimes these rented flats and rooms are very expensive. So it is a problem for women workforce. And then security is also one of a major issue for women in outside city. So that's why government is going to establish hostels, and these hostels will be close to the industries where the offices and all are there, their government is going to establish the hostel which will be for the stay of women, okay, for their lodging. Then it says loans up to 7.5 lakh with the guarantee from a government promoted fund. So then loans will also be given to the women if they want to start their own setup or something, and these loans are till rupees 7.5 lakh. One woman can take loan up to rupees 7.5 lakh, and this is going to help 25,000 students every year. Then financial support for loans up to rupees 10 lakh for higher education for the student. So see guys, after 12th, I mean college education, higher education, so government is going to give the loans up to rupees 10 lakh to the students, okay, and these for their further studies, for their higher studies. But these loans will be given for domestic institutions only. That means when someone is going to study in India in the domestic institutes. Direct e-vouchers to 1 lakh students every year, annual interest subvention of 3%, and the interest that was earlier charged on these education loans, government is going to reduce the per annum interest from those loans, and the subvention is of 3%. So 3% reduction in the interest rate. Clear? Next, the third aspect, it is inclusive human resource development and social justice. As I have already discussed, Purvodaya, Vikas bhi, Virasat bhi, the plan to develop eastern parts, that is Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh. Then government is also providing or is also going to develop Amritsar Kolkata industrial corridor with development of an industrial node at Gaya. So a corridor, an industrial corridor will be established by government between Amritsar and Kolkata, okay, and it will have an industrial node in Gaya, Bihar, okay. Then allocation of more than rupees 3 lakh crore for schemes benefiting women and girls. So 3 lakh crore government is going to allocate for schemes which are related or which are going to benefit the women and girls, okay. Then Pradhan Mantri Janjatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan, under this improving the socio-economic condition of tribal communities covering 63,000 villages benefiting 5 crore tribal people. So government is going to launch a plan, a policy. Under this policy, government is going to improvise the social condition, the living condition and the economic condition of the tribal people, okay, and it will cover 63,000 villages, and this will benefit 5 crore tribal people, okay, their living standards will improve. Then it says more than 100 branches of India Post Payment Bank. So Post Payment Bank, which were set up at several places, now 100 more branches of India Post Payment Bank will be set up in the northeast region, because in the northeast region the post payment banks were not there, or if they were there, they were in scarcity. So now government is going to open 100 post payment bank in the northeast region. Now Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act. So under this, financial support of rupees 15,000 crore will be given or will be arranged for Andhra Pradesh in the financial year 24-25. Then completion of Polavaram irrigation project ensuring food security of the nation. So this project, this irrigation project will be fulfilled, it will be completed, and this will provide food security. Next is essential infrastructure such as water, power, railways and roads in Koparthi node on the Visakhapatnam Chennai industrial corridor and Orvakal node on Hyderabad Bengaluru industrial corridor will also be set up by the government. Clear, everyone? Moving on. Now coming to the manufacturing and services sector. Just a minute, guys. So see here, first is that the credit guarantee scheme for MSME and the manufacturing sector, it was already there, so it will prevail. Credit guarantee scheme will be there. Enhanced scope for mandatory on bonding trades, it was also there in the previous budget. MSME units for food quality and safety testing, nothing new here. New investment model, all these are old, but this thing is important here, that mudra loans, the limit of mudra loans has been enhanced or has been increased from 10 lakh to 20 lakh, okay, from the current year, and it comes under the Tarun category. Means those industries which are fresh, which have just started. So those industries under MSME which have just started their business, they will be provided the mudra loan of rupees 20 lakh crore if they want to. Then this is also old credit support of MSME during the stress period, okay. Next is urban development. So what government is going to do under urban development? Let's see. First of all, if we talk about stamp duty, so see, in stamp duty it says encouraging states to lower stamp duties for properties purchased by women. So if women is going to purchase the property, then government is going to ask the states, it is going to request the state to charge lesser amount of duty from the women, okay. And which duty? Stamp duty, to decrease the stamp duty for women, okay. Now that will be financial aid to the women, so that, and that will also be a step so that women can acquire more properties in the country, okay. Then it is street markets. For street markets, street vendors, government is saying, envisioning a scheme to develop 100 weekly, and government is going to call them huts or street food hubs in the selected cities. So in the selected cities, 100 hubs of street food will be developed. Fine. Transit oriented development. Transit means movement, conveyance, like providing metro connectivity, okay, such things in a city. So transit oriented development plans for 14 large cities with a population above 30 lakh. So those cities which have got population under 30 lakh, over 30 lakh, sorry. So for those cities, the connectivity will be provided to them. The conveyance will be made easy for them. Next is water management. So to promote water supply, sewage treatment and solid waste management projects and services for 100 large cities, okay, will be done. So for 100 large cities, water related issues, proper water management, providing fresh water, sewage management, all these things will be done. Clear? Moving on. Housing needs. Now moving to the housing sector. So under now PM, we all know PM Awas Yojana. Now part 2 or 2.0, PM Awas Yojana 2.0 was launched by Finance Minister. Under this, needs of 1 crore urban poor and middle class families will be addressed with an investment of 10 lakh crore. So houses will be provided to the poor people and middle class people under PM Awas Yojana 2.0, and government estimates to spend rupees 10 lakh crore on it. Fine. Next, enabling policies and regulations for efficient and transparent rental housing markets with enhanced availability. So, as I told you that there is a huge problem, we were discussing it under women's section when I told you that government is planning to develop hostels for working women. So here, and why was that case? Because see, if a woman or if any employee, when he migrates to a new city, so this is one of the major problem for that individual to acquire a lodging, to get a house on rent. So what government is going to do is, it is going to start such policies which will be very efficient for the rental purposes. Certain norms, certain policies will be framed, and it will be user friendly so that people can easily get a rented house or room, and that too on efficient basis, that means at affordable prices, okay, depending on the individual. Next is energy security. So government says that initiatives with private sector in nuclear energy, setting up Bharat small reactors. Now see guys, till now in our country, the nuclear reactors, they were set up by the government only. There was no involvement of private sector in it. Now government is planning to set up small nuclear reactors, not very big, small nuclear reactors, and in large number. So in large number nuclear reactors will be set up, and government is planning for it, and government is going to take the aid of private industry in it. Okay, so now private industry will collaborate with the government in setting up the small scale nuclear reactors, and the name of it will be Bharat Small Reactors. R&D of Bharat Small Modular Reactor and newer technologies for nuclear energy. Research and development will also be done here. Then it says pumped storage policy for electricity storage, facilitation of smooth integration of the growing share of renewable energy. So in order to promote and boost renewable energy, this will be applied. Then AUSC thermal power plants. This will be a joint venture between NTPC and BHEL, will set up a full-scale 800 megawatt commercial plant. So BHEL and NTPC will collaborate to set up a full-scale 800 megawatt commercial plant. Then energy audit will be there. So financial support for shifting of micro and small industries to cleaner forms of energy. Support will be given for micro and small scale industry so that they can reduce their pollution and they can shift their modus operandi to more greener approach. Okay, to facilitate investment grade energy audit in 60 clusters, next phase expands to 100 clusters. Now next is guys, PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. This we saw and have been seeing from couple of years, that government is planning to increase the share of solar energy. So under this, what government is saying, that 1 crore households obtain free electricity. 1 crore households will obtain and have obtained free electricity up to 300 units every month. 1.28 crore registration and 14 lakh applications so far has been obtained. Next is infrastructure. Now this becomes very important. Infrastructure. So as I told you, the finance minister announced in the interim budget that government has increased the capital expenditure. And guys, we all know that whenever capital expenditure is increased, it is very good for the economy. Why? What comes under capital expenditure? Government spends on the growth and development of the country. Government spends on the infrastructure. It spends on the health. It spends on the education. It depends on the skill development. So these things are very beneficial for the holistic growth of the country. So whenever capital expenditure of an economy increases, it is a good sign. It means that economy is growing and it will grow in future. So as finance minister said in the interim budget, so the provision of 1, 10, 100,000, 10 lakh, 10 lakh, okay? 11,11,1111 crore for infrastructure, and this is 3.4 of GDP, which is a big figure. Then 1.5 lakh crore to states as long-term interest-free loans to support resource allocation. Apart from this, apart from spending this huge amount on infrastructure, that is capital expenditure, government is also going to give loan of rupees 1.5 lakh crore to the states. Because see, it is very important that states also develop infrastructure in their particular domains. They also do that thing. Then only a holistic development can take place in country. So government will give the loan of 1.5 lakh crores to the state for the purpose of developing infrastructure in their states, okay? And this loan will be interest free. Guys, and when government says long term, see, long term loans for state means 40 to 50 years. So a very long period of time, for very long period of time, when states will get this much amount of loan for infrastructure, then infrastructure will boost in the states. Okay. Phase 4 PMGSY will be launched to provide all weather connectivity to 25,000 rural habitations. Okay. Next, irrigation and flood mitigation. See guys, flood is a, just a minute. Flood is actually a very big problem. In Assam, recently, there was a flood, a huge flood. So, to mitigate this problem, government has framed certain policies. And what are these? Financial support for the projects with estimated cost of 11,500 crore, such as Kosi, Mechi, Mitra State Link, and 20 other ongoing new schemes. So government is going to provide financial support of 11,500 crores. Okay. Assistance for flood management and related projects in Assam, as I told you, Sikkim, Uttarakhand. Assistance for reconstruction and rehabilitation in Himachal Pradesh. Okay. Moving on. Next is tourism. So tourism is also one very important aspect. So what government is saying, that it will develop Vishnupad temple corridor and Mahabodhi temple corridor, and these two will be modeled, they will be on the grounds of Kashi Vishwanath temple corridor. So as government has developed Kashi Vishwanath temple corridor, on the same way, in the same way, government is going to develop Vishnunath temple corridor and Mahabodhi temple corridor. Next is comprehensive development initiative for Rajgir will be undertaken, which holds religious significance. It is in Bihar. Okay, Rajgir is in Bihar. For Hindus, and it is a center for Hindus, Buddhists and Jains. So government is going to take initiatives to develop Rajgir. Then the development of Nalanda. Recently government has opened Nalanda University once again. It's a very old university. So and it will be developed as a tourist center besides, and it was a very famous university as well. Historical, very famous, you can say top university of the world at that time. Okay. So besides reviving Nalanda University to its glorious stature, so Nalanda will be revived to its glorious stature, plus it will also be developed as a tourist hub. Next is assistance to the development of Odisha's scenic beauty. As I told you that BJP has recently won Odisha by defeating Naveen Patnaik. So now to promote Odisha as a as a tourist destination, government is going to work on several places there. It wants to develop scenic beauty there, so for that it will work on temples, monuments, craftsmanship, wildlife sanctuaries, natural landscapes and pristine beaches, making it an ultimate tourist destination. Clear? Next, innovation, research and development. Now see guys, innovation and research are very important facets for any country who wants to develop. So related to that, government is saying operationalization of Anusandhan National Research Funds for the basic research prototype development. So government is going to set up an Anusandhan National Research Fund. This fund will be set up for R&D. Then private sector driven research and innovation at commercial scale with a financing of rupees 1 lakh crore. Then government will also collaborate with the private sector for this research and development. Then guys, if we talk about space economy, It is very important nowadays. So a venture capital fund will be set up, and that will be of 1000 crores for space economy. Clear? Moving on. Next is, and this is the last aspect of the policy, then we will move to the next segment or part B of the budget. Next generation reforms. So rural and urban land related actions, unique land parcel identification number or BHU Aadhaar for all land. See guys, if we talk about the lands in India, so the system where the records of land, suppose you own a house, so the record, if you go after some time, let's say 10-15 years, you are living in a house and you go to acquire the documents of that house, it is a very lengthy and painful process. They have to open several files, they have to search for your document and whatnot. So it is not properly organized. So what government is planning, it is planning to give a unique land parcel identification number, just like the Aadhaar number for your land. So wherever you log in that number of your land, the entire detail of the land will be displayed in front of you. So it will prevent the fraud also. Many frauds are commenced by this because it is so tough to acquire the information about the land. So many frauds related to ownership and all are there. So these things can be mitigated, and it is a good step, a welcome step. Survey of map subdivision as per current ownership, linkages to the farmers registries. Now see, this is also a very big problem, and it was in demand from very long time. It was a need actually, that if we talk about the farms where farmers cultivate, where they do their irrigation, farming. So two neighboring farmers, they mostly fight that this land belongs, this patch of land which is lying between their farms, they claim ownership over that land. Why? Because as I already told you that in India, paperworks related to land, it's actually a havoc. Okay, so now government is going to link the registries of the farmers with this identification number, so that these disputes, these problems, all these things can be resolved. Next is, land records in urban areas will be digitized, as I told you, with GIS mapping, digitization of cadastral map and establishment of land registry. Fine. So that's part A done. Now moving to the part B of our budget. Okay, just give me a minute, let me have a glass of water please. Okay guys, now let's continue with part B. So in part B, as I told you, first of all let's see revenue receipt. Receipt means the earning of the government. Okay, receipt is the earning of the government, and when we say revenue receipt, so revenue, government gets revenue receipt basically from taxes, and taxes can be direct as well as indirect taxes. Clear? Direct and indirect taxes. Plus revenue receipts are also from non-tax income and everything. So from majorly from taxes, government gets its income. Fine. So if we talk about revenue receipts, so see here a comparison has been done of several years, 2022, 23, 23, 24 and 24, 25. So what government is estimating, this is not actual, government is estimating 31.3 lakh crore it will get as revenue receipt. Okay, from taxes, non-taxes, fees, fines, all these things, government will get 31.3 lakh. Clear? Now if we talk about capital receipts, so capital receipts are long term receipts, and whenever we talk about capital receipts, so they create a liability. They create a liability and they are non-recurring in nature and they reduce assets. So basically government gets capital receipts from borrowing. Okay, if government borrows the funds, or it can be by disinvestment. What is the meaning of disinvestment? When government is going to sell its ownership in a company or in some asset, government asset. So these are the major sources of capital receipts. Capital receipts always increase the liability, or they decrease the assets of the government. Whereas revenue receipt, they do not increase the liability or reduce asset. Okay, these are the receipts that government obtain from taxes, direct, indirect, both, or from fees that government collects, or the challans or the fines. All these come under revenue receipt. Fine. So one good aspect here is that government is saying that, see, it is going to reduce from 23-24 to 24-25. Government is going to reduce its capital receipt from 18.7 lakh crore to 16.9 lakh crore in this year. So that's a good thing that capital receipt is reducing. So government is going to take less loan, it is going to sell lesser assets, and this is also a good thing that revenue receipt has increased. Okay, is this clear? Moving on. Now if we talk about expenditure, so again expenditure are of two types. Revenue expenditure, these basically means salaries given by the government to its employees, pensions given by the government. Revenue expenditure are recurring in nature, they are short term. Okay, see, salary, pensions, they are given every month, short term. Recurring, they are given repeatedly. Okay, so guys, revenue expenditure is not going to contribute in the development of the country. Understand this thing. Revenue expenditure is basically the operational expenditure that government undertakes for the smooth running of the country. But it is not going to grow the country, it is not going to increase the GDP. Fine. So always it is good for a government or an economy to reduce its revenue expenditure and increase its capital expenditure, because as I have told you already and several times that capital expenditure results in the growth of the economy. Capital expenditure means building the infrastructure. Capital expenditure means launching new companies by the government, or developing the new hospitals in the health sector, or developing new colleges, schools. All these things come under capital expenditure. So capital expenditure is always good for the economy, it leads to the growth of the economy. So see guys, this is something bad, that revenue expenditure has increased from 23-24. Government estimates in 23-24 the revenue expenditure was 35.4 lakh crore. Government is estimating in 24-25 that this will increase to 37.1 lakh crore. That is bad. And one more thing, revenue expenditure should be met out by revenue receipts, else there will be revenue deficit. You can see the revenue receipt is of 31.3 lakh crore estimated this year, and revenue expenditure is 37.1 lakh crore, nearly 5.8% higher, 5.7 lakh crore higher than the revenue receipt. So it will lead to revenue deficit. Anyway, if we talk about capital expenditure, so see guys, a term excessive is also used, effective is also used here. I'll tell you what's the meaning of effective. I've already discussed what capital expenditure is. So the good point is that government is increasing the capital expenditure. It was 12.7 lakh crore in the last year. This year government is estimating that it will become 15 lakh crore. So that's good. And when we say effective, effective means that, see, government also has to give funds to the states. So when you say effective capital expenditure of the union government, that means the funds allotted to the states for development are also included. Okay. Moving on. Now fiscal deficit. If we talk about fiscal deficit, what is deficit? Means loss incurred by the government. So fiscal deficit is expenditure done by the government, total expenditure minus total receipts, total money earned by the government. When I say total expenditure, I am including both revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. And when I say total receipt, I am including both revenue receipt as well as capital receipt. Okay. But here one thing we have to keep in mind, excluding borrowing, the money that government has borrowed, that will not be included. Okay. So it gives you the actual idea that how much your expenditure is more than your actual earning. That's why fiscal deficit is used. Okay. Anyway, so fiscal deficit of government is 4.9% of GDP for the current fiscal, and that is a good thing. Okay, because whenever some outsiders, whenever FDI from foreign direct investment, whenever any foreigner or investor wants to invest in an economy, they first of all look at the figures of fiscal deficit. Let me explain it. Suppose government, let me give you an example, it will make it clear. That let's say expenditure of government is 1500, okay, and total receipt is 1000 apart from borrowing. So 500 will be your fiscal deficit. Okay, and 500 of 1000 was the earning. This is your GDP. Let's say this is the GDP. Deficit will become 50% in terms of percentage of GDP. But what this is just an example. So fiscal deficit of this year will be 4.9%. Okay, in this fiscal year 24-25, and government is aiming to bring down the fiscal deficit to 4.5% by the next fiscal year of 25-26. Clear, guys? Here a curve is given that you can with which you can analyze this is related to fiscal deficit. So if you see, guys, that in 2021 the fiscal deficit was 9.2, very high. Before that it was less, it was in control, 4.6, 3.4, 3.5, 3, and this is actually what this is represented in terms of this fiscal deficit is percentage of GDP. So when I say 9.2%, I mean 9.2% of GDP. Okay, so it was 9.2 in the year 2020-21, okay, which was the time of Corona. Then after that you can see it is declining. It decreased to 6.8, 6.4, 5.9, 5.8, 5.1. Still these are very high. Okay, and in 24-25 government is saying it will be 4.9. Clear? Moving on. Now if we talk about the receipt, total receipt of the government from in terms of percentage, that let's say if government is earning 100 rupees. So from where these 100 rupees are coming? So out of these 100 rupees, see, this is the major problem. 27% or 27 rupee, they come from the borrowing. Government borrows it, okay, takes loans. This is the biggest segment. 19% or 19 rupees come from income tax that we pay. Then from GST and other taxes, this is number 3, 18 rupees or 18% comes. Okay. Then from excise duties, 9% is 5%, sorry, 5% is going to come from here. Okay. From non-tax receipts, challans, fines, all these, this is number 4, 9% comes from here. Okay. Then non-debt capital, custom duties 4%. So overall, if we talk about, yeah, oh sorry, I said this is 4, this is not 4, because one major chunk also comes from the corporation or corporate tax, 17%. This is 5 then, okay, from corporation tax, which is taken from the corporates, like corporation tax will be taken from Reliance and income tax will be taken from Mukesh Ambani. So tax imposed on companies, corporation tax, 17% comes from there. So that's the total earning of the government, but the major chunk is coming from the borrowing. And due to this only, since major chunk is coming from the borrowing, if you look here, if you are borrowing the money, you have to pay interest on it. So let's say that expenditure of government is 100, let's say. So out of this 100, 19 rupees are going for the payment of interest, 19%. Okay. Then state share, if we talk about 21%, other transfers are 9%, centrally sponsored schemes that center is sponsoring. Center has made policies for it. It will be undertaken and looked after by center, 8%. If you talk about subsidies, 6%. And center sectoral schemes, 16%, where center and state, center is going to give aid to the state. These are the sectoral schemes. 8% goes to the defense, okay. So that's how it is spent, the expenditure, total expenditure of the government. Moving on, if we talk about the major items on which in this year the money will be spent. So number one is defense. On defense sector, 4,54,773 crores. Number two comes the rural development, 2,65,808 crore. Agriculture and allied activities, 1,51,851 crore. Home affairs, 1,50,983 crore. Education, 1,25,638. Then IT and telecom. Then health, 89,287. Energy, 68,769. Social welfare, 56,501. And commerce industry, 47,559. These are the major items on which expenditure is done. If we talk about, then government is saying that our current account deficit is also improving. It will be nearly 1%. Current account deficit means what? Current account deficit means export, and when you are saying deficit, it means import. Trade deficit will be there, import will be greater than export, okay. So more foreign reserve will be lost. So current account deficit is getting reduced, you can see, in comparison to 21, but still in comparison to 23 it will be high. And we have also made a video on economic survey that will be available to you tomorrow. So in the economic survey it is said that in the year 23-24 the GDP grew at the rate of 8.2%, okay, and this year it's expected between 6 to 7%. So that's what it is shown, that our GDP is also growing. It grew at the rate of 8.2% for the financial year 24. Now guys, if we talk about the tax proposal, so the major aim of government is simplification of taxes. So there was an act, Income Tax Act of 1961. Now government wants to review this act because there are certain discrepancies and problems in this act, and yeah, it is a good step. Government should modify that act. So government is going to review it, apply several changes on that act, simplify that act, simplify the process of taxation, okay, so that the litigations and appeal, you know, if someone has not given the tax, government says, okay, we are giving you a window of giving the taxes to avoid the penalties and all. So all these cumbersome processes can be avoided. And the major thing here is, important thing, that government wants to deepen or increase the tax base. it wants more and more people to come under the tax, under the umbrella of taxpayers. Government wants more and more people to pay taxes, to be taxpayers. So for that, it wants to simplify the Act of 1961. Okay. Then government is also saying that it will look for sector specific customs duty proposal. So custom duties will be based on sectors. Clear? Now see, what will be the changes in the custom duty? So government is going to fully exempt 3 more cancer medicines. Life saving medicines for cancer, 3 more. Initially government had exempted few, now 3 more will also be exempted from customs for the sake of affordable medicines. Then reduce the duties to 15% on mobile phones and chargers. So initially the duty on mobile phones were high, now government is going to reduce it to 15%. This is going to help in boosting mobile industry. Then reduce customs duty on gold and silver to 6% and platinum to 6.4%, so that domestically value addition can be there. Then reduce the duty on shrimp and fish feed, the feed that is given to the fish, to 5%. Okay. This will enhance competitiveness and marine exports. Then exempt more capital goods from manufacturing of solar cells and panels. Government is going to exempt other capital goods, machineries and equipments which are required to manufacture solar cells. Okay, government are going to exempt them from corporation tax. Why so? Because government wants to promote the culture of solar energy here in India. This will support energy transition. Transition means from old ways of energy generation to greener approach. Then fully exempt custom duties on 25 critical minerals, and China has sort of monopoly on this. We import these essential minerals, critical minerals from China, 25. So government is going to fully exempt the corporation tax from there. This will give the boost to the strategic sector. Okay. Now guys, coming to direct tax proposal. So to reduce the compliance burden, promote entrepreneurial spirit and provide tax relief to the citizens. So what government is saying is that short term gains of financial assets to attract 20% tax. Point number 1. And point number 2, long term gains of non-financial assets to attract tax rate of all, long term gains on all financial and non-financial assets to attract a tax rate of 12.5%. After these two things, when Nirmala Sitharaman read it out, the stock market, it declined. Nifty, it declined by 300 to 400 points. I don't remember exactly. Yesterday. Why? Because see guys, initially if you are investing in long term, so the tax charged from you was 10%. Now it has been increased to 12.5%. Tax hike is here. And even in short term, day trading and all, 20% tax is there. Clear? Then one benefit is given to small investors, and what is that? Increase in the limit of exemption of capital gain. If in small investors, for middle class investors, if they are investing, so initially whatever was the limit, capital gain limit for them, that limit will be increased by 1.25 lakh, and when I am saying the limit will be increased, the limit where no tax will be taken from them, it will be increased by 1.25 lakh per year. Okay. Then it was abolish angel tax for all classes of investors. This is under employment and investment. Okay. So Angel investor. What is an angel investor? See guys, there are several startups, you know about startups, and these startups are very important and critical for the growth of an economy, because one day these startups may blossom and become a very big business. So angel investor is that investor who invests in these startups, okay, so that they can flourish. So government was taking tax from them also, okay. So and that was a very that step was criticized by many. It was not a welcome step to charge or to take tax from the investor, angel investor, who is actually in long run developing the country by investing in these startups. So by providing funds to the startup. So now government has taken cognizance of the matter and it has abolished the tax. Simpler tax regime to operate in domestic cruise, provides for safe harbor rates for foreign mining companies. Then here, corporate tax rate on foreign companies reduced from 40% to 35% so that more foreign companies can come here. Initially 40% was the tax charged from them, corporate tax, now it is 35%. So this reduction is there. Now see guys, simplifying new tax regime. So I'll explain it. See, initially there was old tax regime, 0 to 2.5 lakh, nil, 2.5 to 5, 5 to 10. So this was the old tax regime. And this was new tax regime that was launched for 24. That till 3 lakh the tax will be nil, 3 to 6 lakh 5%, 6 to 9 10%, 9 to 12 15, 12 to 15 lakh 20%, and 15 lakh plus it will be 30%. So here government is saying that see 0 to 3 lakh it was nil, same thing here government is saying that okay 0 to 3 lakh it will be nil. Then from 3 to 6 lakh it was 5%, government has increased it by 1 lakh. Now from 3 to 7 lakh it will be 5%, okay. From 6 to 9 lakh it was 10%, so again 1 lakh increase. From 7 to 10 lakh 1%, sorry 10%, okay. Then from 10 to 12 lakh it will become 15%, 12 to 15 it is 20, and 15 lakh it will be 30%. And apart from that, pay attention, earnings up to 7 lakh are totally entitled to rebate, that means they can be tax free, okay. Then standard deduction for salaried employees increased from 50,000 to 75,000. Suppose some employees earning 7 lakh 75,000 lakh per annum. So initially if he was earning 7.5 lakh per annum, if he is employed, he is an employee, does a job, then he has to pay no tax. Now this has been increased to 7.75 lakh. If he is earning 7.75 lakh, then he has to pay no tax. Clear? From 50,000 to 75,000. Then deduction on family pension for pensioners increased from 15 to 25,000. Clear? So guys, that's all in the budget. I hope you understood everything. Thank you.